Good morning. It is Saturday, September 13th, 2025, and it's time for a reality check. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elizabeth, and I am living in the light by documenting my weight loss and my journey to a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. I am not a medical professional. I am not a therapist. I am not a nutritionist, a dietitian, or anything along of those sorts whatsoever. Please remember that this is just me sharing my journey. I am not offering medical advice. I am not offering dietary advice. I am just sharing what I am doing and expressing how that works for me, because some things that I do work and some things that I do I find out don't work. So take this all with a grain of salt. Just know that I am not telling you what you should be doing. I am simply just sharing my journey on this YouTube channel, hopefully to be able to inspire other people to start a journey of their own to a more healthy and sustainable lifestyle. I just completed my 6th week on GLP-1 medications. I am taking a compound semaglutide, and my current dose that I took this morning for the first time at that level is 34 units. 34 units is 0.85 milligrams, and I was asked to jump up to that amount this week after a conversation that I had with my medical provider, which I am in contact with through the company called Hers. Hers is the company that is supplying me with my GLP-1 medications. If you want more information about that organization and the costs and however it might work for you, there is a link in my description box so that you can head over there. There is a discount code with that as well. I am not sponsored by Hers in any way. They don't give me free medications or anything for making any comments. So take that as you will. There are lots of companies out there that you can get GLP-1 medications with or without insurance. I do not have insurance coverage for these medications. I have to pay out of pocket. And so that is the company that I chose to work with, because I know that they will also have somebody who is a medical provider who can help answer questions and walk me through the process. Speaking of sponsored ads, in my last video, I did a sponsored video for a protein powder, which I do like. And so there was nothing that I said last week that is not true. But I just really felt like that is really not on brand for me. I'm not one to really push products and do sponsorships, so I probably won't do that anymore. After I did it, I just kind of felt like, yeah, probably not my thing. So you're probably not going to see me doing sponsored ads. If a mattress company wants to give me a free mattress, I might not turn that down because mattresses are expensive. But as far as other products, probably not going to be doing any sponsored type videos, just because that doesn't really feel like it's my brand. I do want to spend some time this week talking about the foods that I eat and some meals that I am prepping for the week. So most of the video is going to be focused on meal prep, meals that I had. I am really excited about a few of the things that I have eaten and that I'm planning on eating, so I definitely want to share those things with you. So before I go any further, I do just want to ask you, if you like this kind of video, if you like information about healthy living, about recipes, about high protein meals, my GLP-1 medication updates, all of those things, would you please give this video a thumbs up? It really does help me. It helps my channel to grow. And also, if you haven't subscribed, I would invite you to subscribe to my channel. That way you can receive notifications when I post new videos. So give me a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything, and it means the world to me. Now, let me tell you how I did this week. So last week, I had gained 0.8 pounds. No clue what I did, other than the fact that I didn't do the same level of exercise last week. or the week before that I normally do. So I thought maybe I was working out too much and maybe that's why my weight loss was really slow. And so I didn't, and then I gained 0.8 pounds. I still lost inches last week, so that was really good. I lost, I believe, 3.5 inches last week. So how did I do this week? Oh my goodness. 2.2 pounds and 4.5 inches. That's just insane to me. I am so shocked at how good my week was this last week. My eating has not changed. As a matter of fact, as you will see, I eat pretty much the same thing every day with a few variations. What I did do was I started walking again, and my husband and I took 2 great 8-mile bike rides. So one last night and one 2 nights before that. The weather is finally cooperating so that the evenings are not like 95 degrees. I do not like summer. I do not like to be hot. We have a wonderful place that we ride our bikes. It's this formerly a railroad track that they've converted to a trail, very close by to us. It's very flat. I mean, I think the elevation gain is only like 12 feet along the entire trail. It's 4 miles down and then 4 miles back. And it's lovely paved. There's a few bridges that go over creeks and rivers. It's just the first time I rode on that trail, I hadn't been riding my bike for very long, so it was a little terrifying to me, but I'm able now to do it and not be afraid while I'm riding my bike. And we have enjoyed a couple of really nice bike rides over the last couple of days. And so I'm looking forward to getting back on bikes again now that the weather is cooling off. Although this week it's supposed to be in the 90s again this week, so who knows. But it's cooling off, and hopefully we'll be able to ride bikes a little bit more because I do love to be able to do that. So lesson learned, we're going to continue to move. We're going to continue to work on strength training. I'm looking at a couple of new videos for doing some hand weights, and I just like to keep things mixed up and not do the same thing all of the time and get bored with the exercise. I don't mind eating the same thing all the time. That doesn't bother me at all. But for some reason, just doing the same exercise video over and over again can get a little boring to me. And I also then begin to kind of know what to expect in the video. And I think I get a little lazy. So if I do newer videos and just try to mix things up a little bit, I enjoy it a whole lot more. I will also say that my total weight loss to date from the time that I started GLP-1s on the 2nd of August to today is only 10.5 pounds. So 10.6 pounds, it's not a lot. And remember that very first week I lost 6 pounds in that first week, which I knew was going to happen. So my weight loss has been pretty slow throughout this process. Also keep in mind that I'm not at the full dosage of the semaglutide yet. So I still have I moved up to 34 units this week, and I will be at this level for 3 to 4 weeks. It just kind of depends, probably 4 weeks. And then I will be at the full dose probably by the beginning of November. And that's they do say that your weight loss is going to be a little slower to begin with as your body is adjusting to the medications. So perhaps I will see a more significant weight loss as we move forward. I would love to be losing 1.5 pounds a week. Right now, I'm not quite, if I average it out, it's not quite 1 pound. If I discount that first week and look at what's happening, because I've had 1 week where I didn't lose anything. I had 1 week where I gained. So we'll see going forward. I would love to be able to be at my goal weight by next spring. That is entirely possible. My total weight loss goal to be on these GLP-1 medications is about 50 pounds. So I'm 10 pounds in, 11 pounds in, so I'm almost a quarter of the way there, and it's been 6 weeks. So we'll see. I'm definitely not rushing things. I definitely want to be patient and allow things to happen as they happen. Please let me know what are your weight loss goals? I'd love to hear those in the comments below. What are some things that you are doing that encourage you to live a more healthy lifestyle? I'd love to hear about it. So let's talk about meals. I am going to share with you some videos that I have of some of the different meals that I have made over the last couple of weeks. I will say that typical breakfast for me is going to be eggs, usually 2, sometimes 3 eggs. Sometimes I incorporate cottage cheese in there. Usually there are going to be vegetables involved, so I will use spinach, mushrooms, peppers, onions, sometimes leftover roasted broccoli or summer squash or zucchini might make it into my breakfast. Most of the time it's going to be like an omelet or a scramble. That is the best way for me to make sure that I am getting plenty of protein. So I will add some reduced fat cheese. So I don't want to do fat free, but I don't mind the reduced fat cheese. Again, I am not too worried about the calories that I eat because I do already eat naturally in what most people would consider a calorie deficit. So I try not to focus on the number of calories that I'm eating for other people because they would say, oh, you're not eating enough calories. But when you look at the amount of protein that I'm eating, the amount of fat that I'm eating, the nutrients that I am eating, because I eat mostly whole foods, my diet is extremely nutritious. My body is getting a ton of nutrition from the food that I eat. And honestly, for me to eat more calories would only mean I need to increase the carbohydrates that I eat. And as I have said many times, my body does not like carbohydrates. It is very resistant to carbohydrates. I am trying to slowly increase that and help my body to adjust to eating more carbohydrates, but that's simply what I have to do for myself, is just make this process very gradual. So first of all, I'm going to show you a breakfast that I had yesterday, and that was just a 2-egg scramble with about 1/4 cup of cottage cheese. I just used the whole milk cottage cheese because that's the one that I really like. Good Culture is my favorite cottage cheese, but I can't always find that. It's not easy for me to find. I can't find it in my Kroger or my local Walmart. I would probably have to go to Publix, and I don't normally shop at Publix just because the prices are way higher than they are at Kroger or Walmart. And I also do a lot of grocery shopping at Aldi. So purity is what I like. I don't really care for the daisy, which is what is carried at Costco. So this scramble also had spinach in it and some bacon. And that gave me lots of protein. I'll put the stats up there for you to see. And that's a very typical breakfast for me. So scramble form, omelet form. Sometimes I will throw the eggs in a pan. Here's a picture of what that looks like. I'll fold the eggs over whatever I'm using as a filling. It might be, it's going to be some kind of a vegetable. Sometimes I'll throw some bacon in there, or I'll cook some sausage and put that in there with some cheese. And that is those are very typical breakfasts for me. I'm going to share now with you what I made for my breakfast this morning. So as you said, I normally eat eggs for breakfast, but on Saturdays or Sundays, when I've got a little bit of extra time, I do like to do something a little special. So I might do waffles of some sort, or this morning I made blueberry pancakes. I found a recipe for cottage cheese pancakes. If you have not ever tried cottage cheese pancakes before, you really need to try it. If you don't like cottage cheese, you would never know that there was cottage cheese in these pancakes. So let me share with you now making this breakfast, and then I'll tell you how yummy it was. Here's what you're going to need for these cottage cheese blueberry muffins. We're going to use a half a cup of flour. I'm going to combine all of my dry ingredients together, so super easy. A half a cup of flour. I know there are recipes out there with oat flour, but I'm just using one that has regular flour. This is baking powder, and I need a teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda. Make sure you know the difference. And then a half of a teaspoon of just regular salt. This is sea salt. I'm going to just use a half a teaspoon of that. And I'm going to whisk these dry ingredients together and set that aside. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the blender container for my NutriBullet, because I can put my stick blender right down inside there and get this blended up. So this mixture is 3/4 of a cup of cottage cheese. The recipe says low fat. She uses 2%. I actually have full fat 4%. I don't count calories or fat. I just worry about protein, and I like the flavor of this. If I can find good culture cottage cheese, I use that, but this happens to be Purity, which I also like. I'm not a fan of Daisy, which is what they carry at Costco, and I'm not a fan of the store brands either. They tend to be just a little liquidy that I'm not a big fan of. So 3/4 of a cup cottage cheese, 2 large eggs. She says half of a tablespoon each of avocado oil and butter, but half of a tablespoon is 1.5 teaspoons. That's a lot easier to measure because you probably have a teaspoon measure and you probably don't have a half of a tablespoon measure. So I'm actually using avocado oil. She said olive oil or butter. I'm just going to use avocado oil because that's easier. And then vanilla. I make my own vanilla. I actually have a video on my channel of making vanilla. This one is made with bourbon and vanilla beans. So 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. More or less, a lot of times with vanilla, I don't measure it. I just measure it with my heart. And then we're going to do, this one says 1.5 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm just gonna kind of do 2 shy, and I'm not gonna fully drain it the first time. So I will have around 1.5 tablespoons of maple syrup. And then I'm going to put all of this stick blender. I just want to make sure that it's smooth, that the cottage cheese is completely broken up. And then I am going to mix my wet ingredients into my dry ingredients. And with anything that you're mixing that involves flour, once you add the liquid, you want to do as little mixing as possible. You just want to get those dry ingredients wet. So I'm going to dig down to the bottom and make sure that I don't have any big clumps of flour. Little lumps are okay in pancake batter, totally fine. As a matter of fact, for this recipe, you need to let the mixture sit for 5 minutes. So I think I've got most of the big clumps of flour taken care of. Now she also mixes in the blueberries at this point and lets it sit, but I like to add my blueberries as I cook the pancakes. So I'm going to leave that step out. So my blueberries are waiting for me over here. I'm gonna let this set for 5 minutes and then we'll come back and cook the pancakes. Okay, it's been 5 minutes and I'm just gonna take a little bit of butter in my griddle that I have. You can do this in a frying pan, however you want to do it. I have this flat top and I'm just going to melt some butter on there. My stove is kind of at a medium low, so just under medium. And I have a 1/4 cup scoop, and I'm just gonna make 1/4 cup dollops. This recipe makes 2 servings, so I'm just gonna figure out how many pancakes I make and then divide that by 2. So when I make blueberry pancakes, I put the pancakes on, and then I just take and sprinkle a few blueberries on each one. Get those that kind of fell off the edge there. I think the recipe says 3/4 of a cup of blueberries total, so I can be pretty generous with the blueberries. And I'm gonna let these cook for just a few minutes on this side until I see bubbles forming all over the top. I wanna make sure that it gets cooked really well. So when the bubble, what happens when it's bubbling, that's letting you know that the air is able to pass through. When the bubbles stay open, that means the air has been able to pass through and it's actually cooked. If the bubbles close right back up, that means that the batter is still raw underneath there, so you want to let it continue to cook for another minute or so, and then you can flip them over. So these pancakes have 20 grams of protein in them per serving. So I'm going to consider these kind of like a side to my eggs. So I'm going to still have 2 eggs that I'll probably cook over easy on this when I'm done. And that will make sure that along with my collagen that I have, that I'm getting about 40 grams of protein this morning with breakfast. That's usually my goal. If I can get 40 for breakfast, 30 for lunch, 30 for dinner, and then a snack that has anywhere from 10 to 20 grams of protein, then I'm gonna hit that 20 gram protein goal for the day. So I'm gonna zoom in here so you can see that I've got lots of bubbles on here, and there's actually a bubble that just popped right there, another one that popped right there, that are actually staying open. So that kind of lets me know that these pancakes are probably about ready to flip. The ones back here need a little bit more time, but these probably are okay. Yeah, I can easily get my spatula underneath them. I'm just gonna flip them over. I'm gonna give those back there a little bit more time. Tuck that puppy right underneath there. So if you ever wondered why, there's the reason behind that. So it looks like I got 2 medium-sized pancakes and 2 really big pancakes because I knew I couldn't make a total of 4 with the batter that I had left. So 3 pancakes. My scoop is slightly under a 1/4 cup. So if you use a full 1/4 cup measure for each one, you'll probably get 6 equal sized pancakes. And I am going to, I'll show you what my plate looks like. I'm just going to use 3 of these kind of as part of my breakfast. I'm not going to put any syrup on them. There's actually maple syrup in them, so I don't need that. So I'm going to just have the pancakes themselves and then 2 eggs on the side. I probably will do over easy eggs because that will be easy to do on this griddle since it's hot. And I'll show you what my plate looks like when I'm done. So here is breakfast. There's 3 pancakes and 2 eggs that are over easy. This is not a normal breakfast for me. So once a week, typically I do something special like pancakes, or I might do some kind of muffin or something else that has a little higher carbs in it. That's because my typical breakfast is going to include vegetables in some form or fashion, as you have seen with other breakfasts that I have shown you. But typically on Saturdays or Sundays, I'll do something special like this that don't have any vegetables in it. There's fruit, so I do have some blueberries. Maybe 1/3 of a cup of blueberries, roughly, total. So it's not a lot, but this is going to be my breakfast today. And along with the collagen that I have, I've got about 40 grams of protein this morning. I don't know if I've ever used this term before, but I'm going to use it now, and I truly mean it. These pancakes were fire. They were the best pancakes I have ever had. Did not need maple syrup on top of them at all. They were so delicious. There was syrup already in the pancakes, so they already had a little bit of maple flavor. The blueberries added that moisture, juiciness, and absolutely would have no idea that there was cottage cheese in those pancakes. But 20 grams of protein for those 3 pancakes, which is a lot of protein. For a lot of people, that's great. However, for me, my goal with breakfast is to try to get 40 grams of protein. So I shoot for 40 grams. If I can get 40 grams for breakfast, I believe I said this already, but 40 for breakfast, 30 for lunch, 30 for dinner, and a 20-ish, 10 to 20 gram protein snack, then I hit that 110 to 120 grams of protein in a day. So this breakfast, including my 1 scoop of collagen peptides in my coffee, came out to right at 40. I mean, it might have been like 39 point something grams, but it was right at 40 grams of protein. So strong breakfast, even though it was a little higher in carbs than I normally have. And it didn't have the vegetables that I normally get, but I'll make up for that later today. Lunches for me can be a variety of different things. A lot of times it's going to always include a lot of vegetables and lots of protein. So I'm going to shoot for about 30 grams of protein for my lunch. So that is going to come in, tuna is a great high protein lunch. Chicken or turkey works really well as well. So those are typically what I have as far as proteins for lunch. Sometimes I will have leftovers from a previous dinner. Sometimes I will make egg salad. If I don't have eggs for breakfast, I do try to get in eggs every day. So that is something that I might have. I also might do a cup of Oikos 000 yogurt, which is going to give me 15 grams of protein. So it just kind of depends on the day, how hungry I am. Some days I can very easily, most days I can make it very easily from what I have for breakfast until lunch, which I have around noon, and sometime between 12 and 1, I'll have lunch. And usually I can make it from breakfast, which I have right at about 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going until 12 to 1 to have lunch. Most of the time, like I said, I can make it all the way there. Sometimes I get hungry, so towards the end of the week, but when I'm getting ready for another shot, I either really beef up my breakfast to make sure I get lots of protein and fat to sustain me until lunch, or I just have a little high protein snack, whether it is just some steak bites or a yogurt or some cottage cheese, something to boost myself to lunch. I do sometimes do cottage cheese, so I'll have 3/4 of a cup to a cup of cottage cheese. Like I said, I really do love cottage cheese, and so that is an awesome high protein lunch with lots of vegetables. So I'll cut up cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers, or I am going to have tuna, like a tuna wrap on lettuce leaves. So I'll take big romaine leaves and I'll put mix up tuna with some mayonnaise, onions, pickles, whatever, and make a little tuna salad and put that in some lettuce leaves. I also like to use the Egg Life wraps. So the Egg Life wraps, they actually have 50 calories, 11 grams of protein, 1 gram of carbohydrates. And so this, if I'm wanting a sandwich, I can put protein inside these. They're not very big, so I can't pack them with a lot of stuff, but they are really good to have when I want to have something that's more along the lines of a sandwich. Yesterday, I made my typical lunch, and that is a big salad with lots of protein. And I'm gonna show you a video now that I am actually making a salad. I'm actually making a big salad because my husband is also going to eat. So I'm not going to really weigh or measure anything. I'm just going to throw things in there and then eat about half of it. I do know how much chicken I'm adding. So what I'm adding first is just some cut up romaine lettuce. I buy the big packages of romaine from Costco, and I bring them home. I wash the leaves, I cut them up, and then I store them in a Ziploc bag with a paper towel, and they will stay fresh for at least a week, if not more. But by the time I get through all of that lettuce, it's time to buy another package. So I've got romaine lettuce, I've got some English cucumber that I peel and chop, a few tomatoes. These also came from Costco. So the cucumbers came from Costco, the lettuce came from Costco, the tomatoes came from Costco. The feta cheese that you'll see me put in also came from Costco. You can see it's a big, gigantic container. I'm gonna put about 4 or 5 ounces of 40 to 50 grams, I think is really what it is, of feta cheese. I'm really eyeballing it. I am going to put some marinated artichoke hearts in there, and then at the end, I will put a few Kalamata olives on top. I have chicken that is leftover chicken from dinner that we had, so I'm going to cut that chicken up and put that on there. If I don't have leftover chicken, a lot of times I do try to pre-cook chicken on the weekend to have during the week. And then I love this little salad bar avocado ranch dressing from Aldi. Like by far currently my favorite salad dressing. I don't even know if I can make a dressing that's this good. And I make pretty good salad dressings on my own, but this is really amazing. It does not taste like Hidden Valley. So if you're looking for a Hidden Valley ranch, it doesn't taste like that. It's a little bit more vinegary than that type of ranch, but it is absolutely delicious. And I'm gonna put 4 tablespoons on the salad, but that's going to be divided between my husband and myself, and we are both going to enjoy a big salad. When I show you my salad here, you're going to say, wow, that's a lot of salad, and it really is. Well, I tried to divide that big bowl in between 2 serving dishes, and it ended up being a lot of salad. And even for me on a Friday, the day before my shot, when I'm normally more hungry, this was way more than I could eat. So there are times where I could eat a salad that big, but even I was really surprised that I wasn't able to eat more than I did. I ate probably half, maybe 2/3 of the salad, but I did eat all of the protein because I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of protein for myself to fuel me for the rest of the day. This day also I needed a little bit of a snack, and probably because I didn't have the whole salad, so for some reason I was a little bit more hungry yesterday afternoon, so I did have a snack. I've shown you some snacks that I've had in the past, things that I like to keep on hand. The Quest cheese crackers are by far my favorite snack. Also the Ready Clean protein bars. So I get those at Walmart. I'm sure you can get them elsewhere. You probably can order them on Amazon. My favorite is the chocolate peanut butter flavor, but you know, we all know how much I love chocolate and peanut butter together. That is another one that I like. I have purchased the Kindling protein pretzels. There are other protein pretzels out there. Those are kind of the protein snacks that I will eat. Chomps meat sticks are another thing that I will have, but I do have a guilty pleasure, and I will admit this is not good. The ingredients are not, this is not a clean snack whatsoever, but sometimes, and you can see from my snacks, like the fact that I love the cheese chips and the meat sticks and the protein pretzels. I'm a salty, crunchy girl. That's really what I love. Those little wisps, or the little cheese crispy things that are made out of just cheese, like those are my go-to snacks. They are salty, they are crunchy, that's what I love. But occasionally I like a little sweet treat. So I do have those Ready Clean bars, which are fairly clean in their ingredients, not perfect, but they're better than a lot of things. But I'm gonna share with you my guilty pleasure. And this is something that you guys are all gonna be very shocked, because it contains erythritol and sucralose. Those are 2 things that should not be in anybody's diet. But I would say occasionally, maybe twice a month, I will indulge in a legendary protein pastry. So this is the cinnamon flavor, frosted cinnamon is what it's called. It's like a Pop-Tart, and it does have erythritol. It does have sucralose in it. More erythritol than sucralose. I think sucralose is one of the very last ingredients listed. Erythritol is closer to the beginning, but it does have 22 grams of protein and very little sugars in it. So that doesn't necessarily justify it. I still think that you don't want those things to be a regular part of your diet. But that is not to say that sometimes we don't make choices that don't always align 100% with what we would normally eat. So yesterday I did have a legendary protein pastry, and I'm not gonna lie, it was delicious. They also have like little protein buns, like a cinnamon roll type thing. And I think they also have chips or crackers, like protein chips or protein crackers. I have not tried those other things, but I have tried the protein pastries. And like I said, guilty pleasure. It's not a regular part of my diet. Maybe once or twice a month, I will allow myself to have one of those as a special treat, and that's what I did yesterday. Dinners are lots of different things. So for dinner, I will do some type of protein: chicken, beef, salmon, cod, pork chops or pork loin. I might make burgers, something along those lines. So I'm gonna have some kind of source of good lean protein. And then I fill my plate with vegetables. So it's going to be a big salad, or it's going to be roasted or steamed vegetables, something that is going to be super delicious. Now, I've done a few things this week that I am really excited about, that I'm able to try a few new things that I hadn't tried before. I've talked to you before about miracle noodles. I am going to post later today on my Facebook group, Living in the Light Facebook group, and my Living in the Light Instagram page, a picture of my dinner tonight, because I'm planning on doing a pad thai with those miracle noodles. So you can look forward to looking at that, and I probably will record making it, but it's not going to be in this video. So it'll be another video that will just be the miracle noodle pad thai recipe. Another thing that I did this week was I tried Banza pasta. Now, I've had it before. I think years ago I had some, and it was a penne pasta, and I didn't like it. It was mushy. I just didn't like the texture of the pasta whatsoever. But I bought a pasta from them this time. It was almost like two little tubes that were twisted together. I don't know what the name of it was, but the texture was amazing. As a matter of fact, I didn't tell my husband what the pasta was until he was probably halfway through his dinner. And then I said, this is chickpea pasta. Now, first of all, he loves chickpeas, so that didn't gross him out. And he was like, I would never have known it if you hadn't told me. Well, then 2 days later, we had the dinner as leftovers. And I was a little afraid that the pasta was going to be mushy now, because it sat in the sauce that I made. And then I reheated it. But he even commented that he was really surprised that the texture of the pasta was still really good. It was delicious. And the great thing about that is it's a higher protein pasta, and it didn't, I mean, clearly I didn't gain weight having it, and I had it twice this week. So that leads me to believe that the carbohydrates that are in there, along with the protein, is balanced in a way that it doesn't affect my body negatively. So I had done similar to the viral cherry tomato spinach feta cheese pasta, but instead I used cream cheese instead of feta cheese, and I put all of that in the oven and I roasted it in the oven. Well, not the spinach, but I put the tomatoes, garlic, and the cream cheese in the oven, and I roasted it. And then I mixed it all together, threw the spinach in there to wilt the spinach, and put in the pasta, and it made a delicious saucy pasta with vegetables that I then had some lovely grilled chicken with. That made a very delicious dinner. I also like to make salmon patties, so I will roast a big whole side of salmon and we'll have salmon for dinner. And then I'll take the leftovers and either freeze it, or later that week I'm going to make salmon patties. And in my salmon patties, I will use sauteed onions and peppers, some garlic to give it lots of flavor. It has mayonnaise, a little bit of panko breadcrumbs. You probably could use something else as a binder, some eggs. And then I cook those up in a pan. So lots of good seasonings are in there as well. And I just cook those in some butter in a pan. And I did some cauliflower mash for dinner that night. And we actually had that twice again because it is so good. So a lot of times I'll cook once and we'll get at least 2 meals out of that. And I think we actually got 3 meals out of all of the salmon patties that I made that day. So plenty of protein. Salmon is a very high protein fish, so I would definitely recommend incorporating that into your diet. I hope that gave you some great ideas of some high protein meal ideas. It really is not hard to incorporate lots of protein in your diet. I struggle to understand why people don't get more protein in their diets. It's been very easy for me to get between 100 and 120 grams of protein. I just focus on protein at my meals, and I don't fill my plate with carbohydrates. I don't eat potatoes. That pasta that we had that's the first time I've had anything that's really pasta in a long time. And I'm not filling my plate with it. I'm making sure that I'm getting mostly protein, and then other things are there along the side. Let me know, what are you eating that is making you struggle to get in enough protein? I really want to be able to help encourage you to meet your protein goals. Your goals may not be the same as mine. Your goal may be 60 grams of protein or 70 grams of protein, but I really want to encourage you, take that amount, divide it by 3, and make that your goal for each of your 3 meals. Or if you're having 3 meals and 2 snacks, or 3 meals and 3 snacks, however you're doing it, try to divide it that way, and give yourself a goal for each time that you eat to try to meet those protein goals throughout the day. So that's it for me today. I've got stuff to do today. I'm gonna go get my nails done and do a little something for myself. I like to do that once a month, every 3 weeks or so, and just do a little bit of self-care. I'm going to do some food prep today, so I probably will be sharing that in another video. And I would love to know what your ideas are. Continue to share those with me. I've had people asking for more recipe videos, some more healthy food ideas, so I will continue to do that. I hope the recipes that I shared today are helpful to you. I've got a couple of desserty things that are in the works, some recipes that I'm trying. I want to try them before I make them for you. And I am looking forward to sharing those and growing my channel a little bit more. So please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Share my videos. You can share them on YouTube. You can share them on Facebook. You can share them on Instagram. I don't mind that at all. I would love to grow my channel and have more subscribers. So please help me out. And I hope that you guys have a fantastic week. And until I see you next time, please live in the light.